What's going on?
I am so busy lately. Have you been busy?
Yeah, I've been really busy. Student teaching. It's been a great experience, but it's a lot of work.
So tell me more about it.
What I think is important about the student teaching experience is that you want to take as much in as you can, and it should be overwhelming. There's a lot that you learn. Yeah. And if I look back to how I started to now, I mean, it's night and day.
What if you had to list 3 things that you've learned that you just didn't know before, or maybe you heard about it but you didn't believe it, or you had to experience it to really understand it. What would be your big 3?
I'd say the number 1 is, for me, discovery-based learning and hands-on engaging activities work the best with the kids. And so there have been a few days when I've been just in front doing direct instruction and just talking to the kids and having them take notes. But those aren't the good lessons that I've taught. The great lessons that I've really taught are the ones where they are working in groups, they're talking, they're analyzing problems, they're evaluating their thinking, they're synthesizing all this material together, and those lessons to get the kids energized, gets them engaged, and that's the main thing that I've learned, I'd say. Number 2.
I gotta interrupt you. Okay, so before you get to number 2.
Okay.
So you've teased me a little bit. So you talked about these hands-on engaging lessons, but you didn't tell me what any of them were. I have to hear at least 1 or 2 examples of lessons that really went well, and I want to hear a little bit more about that. How you even knew that it went well.
So there was a lesson I taught a couple weeks ago on sine and cosine functions, where I started the lesson off and I said, who here has been to Cedar Point? And immediately they're like, oh my gosh, roller coasters, yes, everybody. And I said, have you been on a Ferris wheel? And I pulled up this video that I found of just a Ferris wheel spinning. And it's a really lame video. All it is a Ferris wheel spinning. And what I had them do is predict that if there was a cart on the Ferris wheel, how long would it take to complete 1 rotation? And of course all the kids are making their guesses and looking at each other's guesses. Yeah. They want to be as close as possible. And so we played the video and we timed it out and saw how long it went. And I said, okay, well, is there a way that we can create some kind of function to predict exactly where one of the carts would be after maybe 30 seconds or something like that? And they were all really engaged. And so from that, we built a sine function that modeled the rotation of the Ferris wheel. And that was only about 15 minutes working on that one application problem, but every single student was so excited. Yeah. And at the end, they were all making their guesses and making their functions and plugging in different time values to see where the cart would be, and that was a really cool lesson. So that's how I started it off, and from there I went to other application problems. Have
you heard of the Dan Meyer website?
Yeah, I've seen a few of his videos.
That sounds Dan Meyer-esque.
Definitely.
Where they show this video, and it seems like, what's the big deal? You just see this thing moving around, and but from it come these great math-related questions.
Yeah, and so the one TED Talk that Dan Meyer talks in, he talks about not just teaching out of the textbook and how the textbook kind of babies the kids through it and they give them exactly the information that they need. And so he worked with a water jug problem where he said, get rid of all the data. Okay, we're going to start filling up this jug with water. How long is it going to take? And that's it. It's just a video of him filling up a jug of water, And the kids are like, well, this is kind of weird, but, they're interested. And actually from that video was what made me think to do the Ferris wheel problem.
I love that.
So, yeah.
It's more real world. In life, you don't have a handout where you go through each step. You have to figure out the steps yourself and collaborating with people.
Definitely.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you said, point number 1 thing you learned was hands-on really works well. So now I'm dying to know, what's number 2?
Number 2, I would say, is classroom management. So Miami University has done a great job getting me prepared through the classroom management class with Dr. Brooks.
Seriously?
Yes, and believe me,
really?
Or not, yes. His rules that you use and the techniques that you use in the classroom, they have helped me throughout my student teaching experience. Having said that, I think that the student teaching experience is so important because some things you need to just learn by doing. Yeah. And so within my first couple weeks, I needed to make sure that my classroom was a safe learning environment, but that students knew that there were rules. And yes, I was a student teacher, but they had to respect me and follow the rules. And so
how did you pull that off? Well, I mean, I want to share this with my pre-service teachers. I've heard so many experiences where people go in, perhaps going in the fall, right? You started with the class from day 1.
Well, I started in the spring.
You started in the spring. Yeah, oh my God, this is the spring.
Yeah, exactly. That's all right.
So how did you? Oh my God, it's March.
Yeah.
2008 already? Oh my God.
Yeah.
So you didn't have this class
No.
at the beginning, so there was already a tone set.
Yeah, definitely.
So how in the world was the teacher's philosophy, that the cooperating teacher, at all compatible with yours?
So the cooperating teacher definitely let me do my own thing, but because I came in halfway through the school year, I needed to, you know, deal with students that didn't really look to me as their number one teacher.
Yeah.
They still looked to my cooperating teacher.
Yeah.
And so it took me a few weeks to get used to having kids realize, okay, I'm in charge now. And on day one, they start, they
test
see,
you
yeah,
immediately,
they test you,
right?
Exactly, and they see how far they could get away with things. And it's important to be confident in yourself and be like, okay, this is not okay. I understand what you're trying to do right now. I've been there before, but here are my rules. They're similar to my teacher's rules, but I'm adapting them, and I need to make sure that the whole class is on the same page.
Wow.
Because for a while there, they did still look at me as, okay, the student teacher, and then my cooperating teacher still has the majority rule of the class.
Is that, by this point in the semester, is the cooperating teacher pretty much out of the picture? Do they let you have the class on your own?
Yes, definitely. And I have an amazing cooperating teacher, and she has let me pretty much take over the class. And so at first, she was great with resources and giving me opportunities to learn. But as I went through student teaching, I told her, I said, you know, I want to take on more responsibility. And by the end of this thing, I want to be teaching full-time on my own, you know?
Right. And
she's been doing a great job of that. So she's kind of been stepping back and letting me do my own thing. And it's great. I mean, I'm a teacher. It's awesome.
So I'm so glad to hear that, like, truly.
Yeah.
So I've talked to a lot of people that really struggle to make that change. Mm-hmm. So particularly during the middle of the year like that, so that's great. And you're such a good guy. Like, it's got to be a balancing act between being the good guy that you are and somehow keeping these consistent rules, you know?
Right. I think that it's really important to build the rapport with students and gain their respect, because you need your students to respect you just as much as you respect their students. You know, that needs to be mutual. And so
you can't force someone to respect you.
Right.
You have to earn it.
Exactly. And so through the first couple weeks, working with them, setting rules, but still getting to know them and learning about their interests and talking to them outside of class, you know, before or after school. Hey, how's it going? You know, the other day I went to one of my students' band concerts.
That's huge.
Yeah, he said, you know, I'm in the drum line, and I told him, hey, you know, I played trumpet in high school. He said, well, you know, Mr. K, we have a band concert next week, and I said, well, I'll put it in my calendar. And sure enough, I went to it, and the kid was like, I never thought you were going to do that.
Right.
You know, he's like, I've had teachers come before, but I've only known you for a few weeks. I said, well, you know, what a great opportunity for me to see one of my students out there. And he thought that was the coolest thing ever. So little interactions like that go so far in the classroom.
I think too that creating these lessons, like the fact that you're talking about Cedar Point instead of passing out another worksheet,
right?
Like kids warm up to that too, and you're finding things that are interesting to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they respond. The fact that you're interested in them, both in class and out, really they respond to that.
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome.
Yeah, making sure that you appeal to their interests, not only outside of class, but in the material, keeps them engaged. So
now, I'm dying to know. So, I mean, you've more than satisfied my curiosity about items 1 and 2.
Right.
But there's a third one. Let me just recap here. The first one was hands-on activities.
Right.
Second one, classroom management, really connecting with the kids.
Right.
What could the third one possibly be?
I'd say the third one is one of the most important traits that a teacher needs.
Oh my God, what could it be?
Flexibility.
Okay.
And I always thought of myself as someone who wasn't very flexible, as far as I would plan way ahead, and I needed everything organized and done a certain way. And through student teaching, I've learned to be flexible, which is what a teacher should be. And not only flexible with your schedule, I've been staying late and meeting with students and tutoring them outside of class, which is important. You need to be flexible like that. You also need to be flexible with the material and inside the lesson. If you don't get as far as you'd like, that's okay. You know, change the lesson tomorrow. And being flexible during the lesson, I think, is really important.
So here's a $1 million question that she might end up editing out of the video, because I can't even begin to imagine how you're gonna respond to this. So these 3 things that you learned, I'm kind of curious, working backwards, how could I get the Miami students the teacher candidates prior to student teaching to begin being more flexible, or should I even worry about it? Like when I encounter these inflexible teacher candidates, do I just let them enjoy their inflexibility and then sort of understanding that ultimately they'll go out into schools and they have to be flexible? Or are there things I should be doing ahead of time?
I think there's definitely things that we could be doing ahead of time.
Are there things we've done ahead of time already?
Yes, absolutely. I think working with the MU Connections program in what hall? What was that?
Oh, in Boyd Hall?
In Boyd Hall, yeah. I think that was a great experience because even though that was one-on-one tutoring, it's important to be flexible because you're going to show up, you're not sure what the students are going to be doing that day, and you just kind of have to go with the flow. I think that giving students experiences before student teaching is really important. So Miami University gives us 2 different field experiences, both 2 weeks long, one in a middle school and one in a high school, and both of those 2-week opportunities were great as well because you're observing other teachers, but then usually the teachers give you the opportunity to teach, and while you're up there, you learn that you do need to be flexible.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can't plan out exactly what you're going to say the entire lesson. So that's important. So I think Miami has done a great job of giving us as many experiences as possible. I'd say the only improvement would be give us more experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So more, there are some schools that have year-long student teaching. Mm-hmm. There's some schools that have extended field experiences. Like I'm trying to get my head around that, like how we could get AYA people in field more. Like instead of 2-week experiences, why not have the methods class in the field, mm-hmm. like in an actual school for the semester?
Definitely.
Maybe instead of what do you call it again? Classroom management being separate from math methods, being separate from special education. Maybe we'd have this class called methods.
Right.
And literally you're at the school during the day. Isn't it fair to say that you learn about classroom management and teaching math and special needs
and everything.
Really all at the same time?
Yeah, definitely.
Assessment, it's all together.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe a class, it's just called All Together.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
EDT All Together.
EDT 1000 or something, yeah. Maybe, but I think that the one activity that we did in your methods class where we hooked up with Madeira High School and Steve Phelps, and where we, as a class, made lessons and then had Steve teach them to the students, and we had a few students go over there from Miami and film what was going on, and then we watched the video in class and analyzed it. I think that was a really cool experience, and I think that my fellow peers all learned a lot from that experience.
I'm glad to hear that.
So I think more opportunities like that would be really cool.
Okay, that's good.
I think we learned a lot about like educational psychology and different teaching strategies, and we read a lot, but as far as doing the hands-on, getting that experience, you
have to do. You learn by doing.
Exactly. And so we do a great job of doing that here, but I'd love to do it even more,
I would too.
Yeah.
Talk to me about, I'm concerned about this actually, like, you take classes here like Math 408 and the methods class maybe to a lesser extent. Like people are always talking about technology, and I think it has great promise for kids learning and making learning more engaging. And yet when I go out to a lot of schools, I see a lot less technology being used. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering, I think you alluded earlier to using technology with the students, and I'm just wondering what your experience has been so far.
So starting with Math 408 with Dr. Harper, I learned a whole bunch of different geometry and algebra softwares such as GeoGebra, Geometer's Sketchpad, and Fathom
to
use in the classroom to give students a more engaged experience. And I've already been using those in student teaching, and they have been great.
You've used You've actually used software in student teaching.
Yeah, absolutely. And what else is actually cool? We do have a smart board in our room, but I took it a step further. I don't really like just standing in front of the class and just pointing to the board.
Yeah, that's boring.
So I found a way to hook up the smart board to my iPad.
Oh.
And so I can write on my iPad, and whatever I write comes up on the smart board. And so that way, when I'm teaching, I'm not just standing in the front of the classroom. I'm walking around.
Yeah.
And I'm getting in different areas of the classroom and meeting the needs of different students. And the students like it too. They love writing on the iPad. So one thing that I'll do, I have them grouped into tables, instead of having them walk up to the board in front of everyone and write down a problem, I'll just put down the iPad on their desk and say, all right, solve the problem, you know? And so I definitely like using technology in the classroom. I think it's really important. Another thing is I've done a little bit of research with GeoGebra, and I presented last year at the GeoGebra conference.
That's right.
Right, which you were in charge of.
Yeah.
And so that was an awesome experience. So that was before I even had my student teaching experience. You told me about the conference, and I said, you know, I'd like to present and spend the summer looking at GeoGebra and getting to know the software, and that was a really cool experience. So I used that research that I did over the summer in my student teaching experience, and I thought that was really cool.
I think that's one of the best things about you, I gotta say, is the fact you're willing to just do stuff and take a chance, and when opportunities come, by saying yes to things, it's incredible the places you can be taken.
Yeah.
And so I've been trying to engender that sort of attitude in my other teacher candidates, just to take a chance. There are these math circle meetings, just go. There's a GeoGebra conference, just go.
Right, exactly.
Meet people. It's a great way to become a professional.
Definitely. And you know what else is? So I'm co-president with Gabby for the MUCTM, Miami University Council of Teachers of Mathematics, and we're getting a group of students to go to New Orleans in a couple weeks here.
Oh my gosh.
And we're going to a math conference in New Orleans. And so that's an awesome opportunity to meet a whole bunch of different people, to learn a whole bunch of different teaching strategies. And so I'm really excited for that too.
That's awesome.
I think it's important as a college student not to just go to class and go through your student teaching experience. It's important to take advantage of the opportunities given to you. So I've been going to OCTM conferences, NCTM conferences. I was in Louisville last semester. That was good. And there's just so many opportunities that you can take advantage of at Miami University. I think it's important to grab as much as you can, you know? And so that's what I've been doing. Currently I'm teaching juniors and seniors at Oak Hills High School, and I'm teaching pre-calculus right now. And once the TPA is over, I'm going to pick up Algebra 2. So I'll be teaching 3 classes of pre-calc and 1 class of Algebra 2. So it's been a good experience. I've gotten to observe a whole bunch of other teachers. So sometimes during lunch, I'll just pop into a geometry class to see what they're doing. I've interacted a lot with the teachers there. They're all awesome over there. And so it's been a really good experience.
I think it's really interesting to see different people's teaching styles. What are any insights by observing all these people that have taught for a while? Is there a wide variety of teaching? Is there a lot of direct instruction? Are you surprised by anything that you see?
I'm surprised that there are a lot of good teachers that teach very different from one another. So just even the way the classroom's set up, some teachers have them set in rows, all the students in rows. Some people have them grouped in different chunks. And it just walking around the school and looking at different teachers, it's amazing that there are a lot of good teachers who teach in completely different ways. Some people use technology a lot, some people don't, and that can be okay as long as it works with your students and they're still engaged and they understand the material. Then there's a lot you can do, which is cool. I
think that's the exciting thing. There, you have opportunities to experiment, try different things, and learn from your colleagues. Just different ways to do it. And sometimes your kids, it depends on the students you have. Sometimes they need a particular teaching style or not.
Definitely. And you know what else is, it's important as a teacher to take as much as you can. And asking a whole bunch of other teachers their opinion and to have other people observe you teach.
Yeah.
And so my cooperating teacher has been awesome with giving me positive feedback, but I think it's important for other people to watch me teach too. And so we have a supervisor from Miami that comes and observes us, and mine has been absolutely awesome. He's been great. But also I've asked the assistant principal to come in, and he's observed me. I've asked another teacher to come in and observe me. And I think that's important to get constructive feedback on your own teaching.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I've also learned is as many people as you can, get them to watch you teach and then get their feedback.
Yeah, 'cause different people will see different things. Just like different people have different styles.
Right.
They respond to different things. So triangulating your feedback is really important.
Right.
That's awesome.
Definitely.
You are so good.
Thanks. You're great too. Very enthusiastic. Awesome.
Okay, just to kind of wrap things up, just a couple things. First of all, it's Friday, correct?
Yeah.
It's like 4:30, 5 o'clock. thank you so much for your willingness to talk to us today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I really appreciate it. Let me shake your hand again.
Great, yeah.
I want to wish you nothing but the best, and I'm confident nothing but the best is coming your way because you've done such a great job while you're here.
Well, thanks a lot.
So again, thank you, and I can't wait to see the video online.
Absolutely. Thank you.